So let me open a paint. Typically, I have three different teams. Okay. I have three teams in my organization. Three teams. One team knows .NET. Other team knows Java. Another team knows Angular, something like that. Okay. Now I want to build an application, a kind of e-store project where I need to use microservice architecture. So now tell me where I can implement Angular. Is it a front-end application or is it a back-end application?
It's in front-end application.
Front-end application. So what management decided is build a microservice, right? In that you will have a user service. Okay, this is your user service. User API service. Okay, and this will build in .NET. I'm telling this can be built in. I say this can be built in .NET. Okay, and I can also have a database here, which is a SQL server. Okay, so all the users are built and maintained by .NET application. Okay, so who has developed the user service? With which team it is developing the user service?
.NET.
.NET team. Now I am also have another module of a microservice saying that product API. I'm also having a product API service. And this can be built using Java Spring. Okay. And I do have a database called MS. I have a database called PostgreSQL or whatever it may be, MS SQL. Okay. So MS SQL. Clear my point? So like that, I'm creating other services with the different teams. .NET order service I created. Order API. Building Java. Now tell me, how can I interact the Java application with the .NET application? Is it possible? Think and tell me. Is it possible a .NET application and Java application can be able to work together? Ramu? Say yes or no?
Sir, via inheritance?
Yes.
Via? I don't understand. Inheritance means? The point here is this guy will be built using SQL Server. This guy built using SQL Server, Java. This guy built using MS SQL. Now, how many APIs I have? API services I have?
3 API services.
These are microservices or major services? Microservices. Now, I have an Angular application in another server. Okay. Team 3 is building the UI for Angular. Team B building UI for Angular. Right? Now, I want to connect this Angular to different services where I'm building an API gateway. Listen carefully, this is most important. Okay. I'm building an API gateway. API gateway. Build in .NET. Is the .NET can able to read data from SQL? Is the .NET can able to read Angular? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible.
Yes. Yes, sir.
by exchanging data in the format of JSON.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. By exchanging data in the format of JSON. Whenever the data is traversing from one application to another application, the data can be read in the format of JSON. So what is the format we are reading? What is the
JSON.
format the data transferring happen? JSON format. Or you got my point? So this is a different application. This is different application. Listen carefully. The API gateway is a different application. User API service is a different application. Product API is a different application. Order API is a different application. These APIs are talking to an independent databases. Whenever you need data into your application of Angular, Angular application will hit an API gateway. API gateway in turn hit this product microservices. Or you got my point? So will the Angular directly talking to the microservices, or is there any intermediator is there?
Intermediate is there.
Gateways to the data.
This architecture will be called it as microservice architecture. We all got the point?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
API gateway means exactly what, and it is written in which language?
JSON. No, API gateway, it depends on the team. You can write API gateway in .NET. You can also write API gateway in Java. Okay. API gateway is something like I'm combining all the request and response of these independent microservices data in a single response and single request and response, and it will give. Let me give you an example. See, for example, here you are selected a products. Listen carefully. You are selected a products. You want to register. You want to make payment and order. Make an order. Okay. Is order API is alone is enough for you to do this transaction? Who asked this question? API gateway is what? Hello?
Yes, sir. Ramu.
Yeah. So you tell me, Ramu, you are going to make an order to the service saying that you finish this order. What will happen? The request will make from you will make a request from here to API gateway saying that this is the user and this is the order and these are all the products. Am I right? Say yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
So the API gateway first, what will happen? Once the API gateway receives the request, first it will verify from the user whether the user is a valid user or not. That is the first call they have to make. Okay.
Yes.
If the user is not valid, will you make an order?
No.
Okay. And then once the user is valid, I get a response. Then it will not immediately give it to Angular. Again, it will make a call to product API saying that whether the selected product has an availability or not. You understand my point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And then product API will give a response back to it. And then, okay, I'm identified user is valid. I'm identified product is valid. And then I will make a request to order. You got the point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. But API gateway suppose written in .NET, then how that .NET will call the Java class means?
Using the data of JSON.
That is with the point of JSON object.
Okay.
Any data communicate with the help of API using JSON. What is the API response you are receiving? Any API
JSON.
you build, what is the format that you are receiving?
JSON.
JSON. When the JSON is universal language for any programming,
Yes, it is universal.
it is an universal language, right? So they can able to read the JSON, right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is how it is.
Sir, then that RabbitMQ Kafka, then like where you we use that?
I'm coming.
Sir, that I have read some theory of microservices. Then RabbitMQ and Kafka, these things like I have read. Then where do we use that?
RabbitMQ will be used in API gateway. Whenever you make a same request, when you make a request with the list of calls, see, uh, where you basically use, you have another Angular call. Okay, I have 2 to 3 clients. They are frequently sending the request to the APMK. So what I will do is RabbitMQ is a queue should maintain all the request and response. Okay, Ramu?
Okay.
Okay, so that is the place where, 1 second, persons are asking the link. Okay, Kafka is not required here. In .NET, you don't have a Kafka, whereas in Java, they have a Kafka. Okay, here you will have only RabbitMQ. You understand what is the purpose of RabbitMQ, Ramu?
Sir, not fully.
Okay, let me do one thing. I create a new one. Can anyone take this screenshot and paste it so that I can explain that RabbitMQ concept? You all understand? See, forget about RabbitMQ. Everything is understood.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
fine. Can you take a screenshot and put it in a group? I will explain RabbitMQ later.
Okay.
Taken?
Yes, sir.
Okay, put it in the group. So now you see here, I have 2 or 3 Angular applications, right? 2, 3 or clients are accessing my microservice. Okay, client 1. Okay, and client 2. And I have client 3. Okay, 3 clients are there. All these 3 clients are in a different machines. These are all clients. Now assume you have a web server here. Understand my point? In the web server, you have an API gateway. You have a API gateway. Here you implement a logic of RabbitMQ. RabbitMQ. It is basically a queue which will hold request and response. Basically, to maintain the traffic, RabbitMQ will be there. You understand my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in which scenario the RabbitMQ will happen is when a client make a request, it takes some time to give a response back. Or you got my point? You understand my point? So that
Yes.
time RabbitMQ will hold that request. Immediately it will give a response. After the queue completed, again it will given the response back one more time. Okay. See, you make a request. Okay, what is your request? Let me give in a different way. Hold on. Assume this is your client 1. Okay, you make a request. Hey, come on. You make a request. Okay, so this is your request 1. but it will give a sample response, not an actual response. MQ will not give an actual response. You will say that, yes, I received the request. It kind of signature the client will receive. Response received, something like that. Okay, because that request is available in the queue. Once the queue completely process that request, and it will give the actual response back to the client. You understand my point? You understand my point?
Yes, sir.
It's kind of a token. Yes, I received your request. Okay, but don't wait for me. You continue. Meanwhile, I will give you the response back. It's called as asynchronous calls. Okay, you
Sir,
have
then if I'm having,
multiple. Yeah, please.
sir, if I'm having only one client, then RabbitMQ not required.
No, RabbitMQ is basically for maintaining the request. The client can be anything. If why do we need to go for a single client? For that, why do we need a big project?
Yes, 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 yes.
If I'm going to develop a one particular browser client, do I need a project? That to a microservice architecture, putting that much of infrastructure cost. Is it really required? Think big. When do we go for application development? When we are going for applications. You understand my point, Ramu?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay, now you all understand. See, Kafka is basically it's all about deployment and all those things. That we are not going to worry. Okay, we worry about RabbitMQ API gateway. We worry about Dockers. Every individual API, microservice API, we created as a Docker, and that Docker will be deployed in the Docker container, so that these services are executing an independent unit. You got the point?
Yes, sir.
What is Docker? Anybody can tell? What is the purpose of Docker?
Sir, it is used for containerization with all the useful packages so that the problem should not arise that it is running on the local and when deploying, it is not running. So that's why it will wrap up all the dependencies required to run in a single form.
Docker is a software.
Which is creating images of the particular services.
Docker is a software which will help us build and deploy any application as a container. That is the first step. Understand my point?
Yes,
It
sir.
is an independent
Yes.
container. It is an independent container. Whenever you want to deploy this container into Azure, or you want to deploy this container into AWS, okay, here you need a Kubernetes. Docker cannot deploy on its own. Docker cannot deploy on its own. With the help of Kubernetes, we will write a script to run the deployment. Okay, before build and deploy, all the dependency of the project will be detected automatically. Understand my point? Detected automatically. If there is no dependencies, let's take an example. You are working for a project as a one of the API, which require a lot of DLLs and nugget packages in .NET. Will those dependencies will be automatically detected for the project, and it will create a container. Okay, so that it will make deployment easier. Understand my point? That is the only purpose Docker is using. Am I right? Statement is right, Ishwar T?
Sir, what you told about the Kubernetes?
Kubernetes for deployment script. Assume you have this Docker. Is the Docker is deployed in Azure? No. To
No.
deploy this Docker container, to deploy the container in the Azure, we need a scripts, right? Automation scripts. Automation scripts. Those scripts are developed by using Kubernetes. Understand my point? Using Kubernetes. But we are not covering this Kubernetes because we are going for a manual deployment. Docker will be available. Okay? Because Kubernetes means again you have to go for AWS or Azure. Those language we need to learn. Okay, these are all the automatic scripts. Till the Docker, yes, we can. Anybody have any questions? Raghurama? Ishwar?
Sir, actually, I don't know Docker and any deployment. I tell you.
Okay, you understand, right? What is Docker now?
Yes, little bit.
See, I'll go detail in later, right?
Okay, sure, sir.
Okay.
Sir, but there is not any like tool something not to communicate between microservices one which is in .NET and microservices 2 in Java. It is purely with the help of JSON they are communicating, right?
Obviously, right, Ramu?
Mm-hmm.
See, you make a request. This is your API, right? This is your API. Now, client want data. This client want data. What is the format the data will be traversed in the network? The format of data is JSON, right? Say yes or no? The format of data is in format of JSON.
JSON.
JSON or XML?
No, earlier it was XML. Nowadays, no XML. Everything is JSON. Okay?
Okay.
When you develop a web service, that time it will be a XML. If you are going for a RESTful services, everything will be JSON. Now, 99% all applications are moved to RESTful API services. When you build an API services, it will be a JSON. So, assume this is your .NET application. Okay, you build the logic in .NET and you're producing a response as a JSON. And this is your Angular application. Angular can able to understand the JSON as an input. Say yes or no? Will Angular can understand JSON as an input or not?
Yes, sir, it will understand.
Yes,
It
sir.
will understand, right? So both
Yes.
.NET and Angular can able to understand this guy. Which guy?
Sir, why you not said that XML means only JSON?
It's a older format. XML is for the XML web services, not as an API. If you build API, it will be always a JSON. If you build an web services, that time you can go for XML. That too, XML can be in a format of SOAP request, SOAP request. It is older one. It is done and dusted. Nobody is using nowadays. All are moved to REST APIs. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the JSON will try to get, whenever the .NET is there, API.NET, the .NET will talk to client on Angular that will traverse data in the format of JSON. Now, when you make the JSON has two things. I will explain that. The JSON has as a request of two things. One is header and request or response. You understand my point? The JSON format will always have a request of header, and here you will have a request. or response. Or you got my point? How you say that, sir? Let's go to Chrome. Let's take any example of Swiggy order. Okay, I'm in a Swiggy application. Right click, inspect. You see there is a network. When you refresh, you will get an API call. You see, is there any API call is available? Click on restaurant. You see, I got a header, response header, request header for a request. Say yes or no?
Yes, sir. Request
Yes, sir.
Anything you make a request, this is the header you are going to pass to the browser server, saying that my path is restaurant. It is a get method, and it is from the HTTPS, the accepted type of JSON, and what are all the catch and what are the cookie you are maintaining, what is the domain name you are passing. With that, a request will be passed. And from which machine and which region and what is the OS of everything will be catched by the browser, send it to the swiggy.com portal application server. The server process the request, send a response back saying that you will get a response header. Hey, get the content when it is processed, why it is, when it is it a logged in one or it is a not logged in one? You see here is logged in equal to. Currently it is not logged in. Am I right? Did I logged in into Swiggy portal?
No,
Says
sir.
okay, and then that will generate a response back. This is the response is an HTML document. The entire HTML document will be sent back as a response. You understand my point? How the
Yes, sir.
request and response are happening?
Yes.
You got the point? So when you make a request, the request should has an header as well as request or response. If it is a request, request header. If it is a response, response header. Anybody have any questions? Ravi, Srinivas,
No, sir.
Srinivas,
No, sir.
Gopi,
No, sir.
Ishwar.
Sir, okay, sir. Bit
Come again?
little bit I understood that. Request understood.
Okay. While developing, you can understand in depth. Don't worry.
Yes, sir.
Raman?
Yes.
No, sir.
Cool. Ravi, do you have any other questions? It's cleared your route?
Yeah, it's clear. I don't have questions.
Who is the one, Raman, or who is the asking questions? I forget name. Who asked RabbitMQ?
I think Raman Rajan.
No,
Raman?
no, I didn't ask. No,
I think
someone
he
else
left.
asked.
He left, I believe. Okay. Clear my point?
Oh, YouTube is one of the gateway. Other type is any.
See, Ocillat.NET predominantly using Ocillat. Okay. Because it is more secure, built by .NET itself, Microsoft framework itself, and it is a own package. Ocillat gateway is a very likely coupled one. Okay. There are other gateways also. but mostly .NET preferring OCLAT Gateway. Most of the projects are using OCLAT Gateway. In OCLAT Gateway, we can implement RabbitMQ as well. Okay. Okay, chalo. Thank you. We'll meet on Monday.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.